Hi everyone, Mega Man here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Strokes EP, past, present, future, present, past. This is a new EP from the famed pop rock and indie rock outfit known as the Strokes. They are 2 albums deep into their comeback now, and obviously an EP as well, which is coming 3 years after what I think is probably the worst album in the Strokes discography. However, the Strokes returning to putting out music has not been all bad. Recently there was that Julian Casablancas and the Void's album Tyranny, and this is a pretty polarizing album for Strokes fans. A lot of people hated this record. However, me, the Needle Drop in general, we dug this record. We dug it. It was surprisingly experimental, very textured, adventurous, some of the parts a little difficult to digest, not for everybody, an acquired taste, but if you're looking for some noise rock that's kind of slick and catchy and is actually a little out there, you know, this isn't a safe record, then give this thing a shot. Now again, while this album is not for everyone, this new EP over here, I have no idea who this is for. We have 3 new tracks here, and a remix of one of the tracks on the EP. And the batch of songs the Strokes offer here feels like an odd mix of some of the experimental elements that came from that Julian Casablancas and the Voids record, paired awkwardly with the same kind of slick, swaggered attitude that you expect from a Strokes project. And I just can't say it sounds like a winning combination. Julian Casablancas sticks out like a sore thumb on a lot of these tracks, and not in a good way, because he just sounds like he's off his rocker. He sounds way more wild and out there and left field than the music is a lot of the time. Either that or he just sounds really disheveled, or like he just doesn't know what he's doing, which is typically the case when you catch the Strokes live. Usually Julian Casablancas is visually inebriated in some kind of fashion, and as a result, it does make the live shows an interesting spectacle. But usually the band sounds pretty sober and, you know, just really together on record and performance, you know, in the studio. Not really the case here, as Julian's vocals and his vocal melodies on this cut feel really aimless and like he's just doing this weird directionless moaning thing. The chorus isn't bad. I like all the menacing layers of guitars and synths on this intro cut, but the verses are awful. The loose, messy instrumentation does not sound good at all, and much like many cuts off of Come Down Machine, this cut, Drag Queen, has a really awkward new wave element to it that just the Strokes cannot grab a hold of what makes for a good new wave track. Julian's vocals also sound weirdly chipmunked on this track, almost like they were pitched up a little bit. Can't quite tell because there's so many things about this cut, including the vocals, that just seem off in some kind of way. And the song Oblivious isn't much better. It's a little sweeter on the surface. I think instrumentally it sounds like your run-of-the-mill Strokes track, but when you actually get down to the performance and the writing, it's such a mess. Number 1, this thing has the worst guitar lead of 2016. Worst lead guitar on the verse, 2016. This little 2-note riff, and then you sort of bring it up a few semitones or back down a few semitones. It gets so old so fast. No compelling melodies on the verses here either. Again, the chorus is okay, but it doesn't make up for how lackluster almost every other thing about this song is. And Julian's vocals on this track are even worse. There are parts during this song where he is straining to reach into his upper register so hard that I can't tell whether he's singing or screaming for help because he's being strangled. And this gets its worst during the final passage of the song, where Julian is essentially singing, and I'm going to do my best impression here, really a vocal performance that makes Yoko Ono sound tame. Now the song Threat of Joy The song doesn't just threaten to be decent, it's actually somewhat decent. And I wouldn't say it's the best track here because it does anything especially good. In a lot of ways, it feels like your run-of-the-mill Strokes song, maybe a little loose and rough around the edges, kind of like a track that maybe during the band's first 2 albums period would have been a demo, and they could have kind of cleaned it up and then performed it on one of those first 2 records, and it would have become one of the less memorable songs in the track listing. But I guess it doesn't do any of the stuff that makes the 2 previous songs horrendous. That kind of makes it a plus. And then we have this completely unnecessary remix of the worst song on the EP. And that's just the EP, guys. I'm not really sure what to make of this batch of tracks. Is this where the Strokes are going next? Now, in theory, I don't think it's a bad thing that the Strokes are experimenting. They're long overdue for a sound change, I think. You know, they've been at it for a while now, and they have been evolving in a way with each new album. However, this could be the worst moment of their evolution so far. If this EP and the sounds and the vibe of this EP were to develop into a full-length album, that worries me. I'm going to be leaving this EP with a strong 2 to a light 3. Transition. Have you given this EP a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit that like. If you like, please subscribe and have a nice day. The Strokes, new EP forever.